But he needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce you anyways. It's Willie O'Dea. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Delighted, Meghann.
Can I say,
great to be here.
I've been trying to get you on this show now all summer, but I've heard you had a very busy summer.
I had well, I suppose it was quite busy, and I suppose I made it busier myself. But anyway, between one thing and another, I'm very sorry I'm so late coming into you, but it's a real pleasure to be here anyway.
Well, we have you now, so we'll be getting you back in again. I know I do see you.
I look forward to it.
I see you walking down Henry Street a few times, so I might nab you for a few interviews as we go along.
No problem at all.
Now, we're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about Brexit. We're not going to touch any of that stuff at all.
Great.
We want to talk about the Limerick that you live in and the Limerick you love.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we've seen, obviously I've been in the Dáil a long time now, and I've been around a long time, and I've seen some tremendous changes here. Limerick, we say, the one thing that particularly stands out about Limerick, that even in the height of all the troubles we had back in the 80s, coincidentally it was at that time that they decided to decentralise some of the civil servants to Limerick. And I remember at the time, there was a great deal of objections to it. Civil servants were very reluctant to go because of the reputation Limerick had in the Dublin media mainly. But it was instructive to talk to people who made the move. People. I'm not talking about native Limerick people from Dublin, Cork, outsiders will say, who made the move down to Limerick. Having lived here for a few years, they wouldn't change for the world. And that really tells its own story. And as you know, in recent times, we've been able to attract an awful lot of new investment into the city. And of course, that means new people coming in as well. I mean, some of our own obviously are employed, but the new people who come in are absolutely, they're crazy about the place, really.
You've got one right here talking to you.
Yeah, well.
Galway girl and a Limerick lady.
Okay.
And behind the camera, you've got a Dublin/Waterford man.
Well, need I say more?
There you go. Case in point right here.
You wouldn't change now.
No, and I love it here.
Yeah, that's
I'm
great,
a Limerick lady now.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, contrary to popular perception, we'll say outside Limerick, the people are friendly, aren't they? And there's a huge amount of things to do here, and the city is developing all the time, and a bit to go yet in terms of infrastructural change and making the place more attractive for tourists, etc. But we've come a long way in a fairly short time.
We most certainly have, and I've been here over 3 years, and I was here in university as well, going back before that. So it's a great spot. It'll be hard to get rid of us now, so it will.
Well, sure, we can add on your time in university to the long holiday, and we're coming up near a squatter's title.
Now, if you had a we'll say now, you wake up Saturday morning, you have the full day off, no jobs on. What's your ideal day in Limerick?
My ideal day in Limerick, on a Saturday, I suppose I might take a trip down to the market in the morning and wander around. It's no less a person than a guy you've heard of. We're not talking about politics, but a guy you've heard of called Leo Varadkar, who visited the market there last year, said it compared with the finest markets throughout Europe, and he's an interest in that. So he told me he volunteered that information, and of course that's a fantastic facility to hear. I would go down to the market. I'd browse around the market for a while. I'd come back if the weather was fine. I'd love to sit out in the People's Park, maybe read a couple of the weekend newspapers. In the afternoon, I'd visit a few of my friends, and as it gets later on in the afternoon, we might enjoy a few sociable drinks. And,
has to be done.
And it has to be done. If there was a match, if there was a local rugby match or even GA match, I'd be inclined to go to it. I mean, I miss all those things because of my present job. Well, particularly ones on Saturday afternoons, because that's when I meet my constituents. But just to have a full. I mean, it seems extraordinarily luxurious just to have a full day off in Limerick. I mean, I must try it sometime.
You did mention I go for a few sociables. So what would be your favourite bar now in Limerick?
Well, I don't like to be pushing one above another. I mean, I was recently spent some time looking for a bar that served Erdlinger on tap.
Okay.
And, yes, the German beer.
Yeah.
They used to in the Loch, but unfortunately they ceased for whatever reason. And I asked one of my people to have a look around all the pubs in Limerick, and uniform one that serves Erlinger, and it's the place there in what you call, is it Wickham Street?
The Wickham
craft,
Tap?
I think it's a craft beer place.
Yeah, the Wickham Tap.
Yeah, and I went in there last Saturday night, and I was very pleasantly surprised, not only by the fact that they served this particular beer, but also by the ambience and the setup in there is absolutely magnificent. It's one of those many places in Limerick I haven't tried, but I go to, I might have a drink in 3 or 4 different pubs on a Saturday night, places like Souths obviously and places like that place there in Balls Bridge, just as you to go to Portrees, the gate beside it, and sometimes we move up market to the 101.
That's
and of course Collins Place, and
good spot.
Collins Place, and of course Tom Collins, isn't it?
Yeah.
And places like that, you just sort of mixture. It's very good. I used to go to the A1 bar on the Dublin Road until they decided to sell it. Now it's been converted into apartments. I used to go to the Geraldine, and again, unfortunately, that is sold and is due to be turned into apartments. Yeah, very sad, very unfortunate. But I suppose that's progress, and it's a question of supply and demand. And I suppose the pub trade isn't really as good as it was. Young people have a different culture. So the pubs aren't doing as well as they were. So I suppose there wasn't possibly the commercial support for as many pubs in Limerick as there were in the past. And so a number of pubs have disappeared, unfortunately. But the ones that are left more than make up for the ones that are gone. And I mean, I don't want to give the impression that I'm a raving alcoholic. I spend all my time going into pubs. I mean, it's been ages since I was at the cinema, but I really would love to go to the cinema some night. I used to go before I got into politics.
I don't want to stay too much on the whole beer thing, but would you ever think of opening like Willie O'Dea's bar? I think you're such a popular man around the place. I think that, you do a fine trade.
Well, the only problem with opening Willie, well, first of all, I wouldn't like to be a publican because it's a 24/7 job. It's a very difficult job.
And politics is as well.
It is. I suppose you can say it like that, but I suppose there's a bit more variety in politics.
Yeah.
But the only problem I would see with opening Willie O'Dea's pub is that it could turn into one gigantic, non-ending clinic. And I'd probably spend more time solving problems than solving fights.
That's true. Now, you did mention their sport, Munster rugby as well, Limerick hurling being a big one. Now, I did see you at the Munster final across the road. Actually, we were all in the bar across from the grounds, and I have to say, I never heard a bigger cheer. The lads won the Munster final and it was grand, and the next minute inside in this bar you walked in and the whole place erupted. Why do you think you're so popular? What is it about Willie O'Dea that everyone loves?
I don't know. I suppose I've been around so long that I've almost met everybody and their parents at this stage, and their grandparents. Pretty well known. I do a lot of I walk when I'm not in the door, so when I'm in Limerick at weekends, I like to walk around, meet people and see what their concerns are, because I don't see any point in being up in Dublin making laws for people when you're not in touch with people to know what they actually want and what they feel about what you're trying to do. So, I interact with a lot of people on a constant basis, and I suppose people recognise that. I suppose then again with the moustache, etc., kind of instantly recognisable.
Actually, that's a question I've been dying to ask you. What would it take for you to get rid of the moustache, or is it just never going to go?
Well, I've had offers.
Oh yeah? Okay.
I've had offers, I mean, for charity. I think, well, I suppose, look, everything is up for sale at the right price. but on commercial grounds, I don't want to mention any money because these offers will come in again for charity, and I just don't want to. I let the people bid against each other.
Yeah. Well, I suppose for the right cause you'll do it.
For the right cause, I'll do it. Yeah.
Now I have to ask you as well, because I'm a big fan of the Rubberbandts.
Yes.
And we know that DJ Willie O'Dea likes to perform sometimes. So what do you make of all that?
Sure, it's great crack. It's great crack. I mean, I remember one day. I was on the Joe Duffy show with Blind Boy, and we had a dialogue that went on for about 25 minutes. And I remember the radio reviewer in the Sunday Times the following Sunday said it was absolute radio gold. It's great crack. I mean, look, the thing is that it's funny and it's amusing, it's entertaining. But I mean, it helps my profile, and I mean, I'm delighted to be associated with Rubberbandts. I remember, I think it was the 2011 election, but very unpopular. And I arrived in one morning to canvass in a certain housing estate in Limerick, and the first 3 doors, there was nobody there. The fourth door, we rang a bell, and a young girl came out, about 16 years of age, and we asked her were her parents around, and she said no. And they said, well, would you take this card and give it to him? We're canvassing for Willie O'Dea. And she said, hold on a sec. And she came back out about 2 minutes later, all made up, and said, where are the Rubberbandts?
Well, there you go. You can take the lads with you now the next time you're going out.
Oh, I'd love to have them with me. Yeah, I'd love to have them with me. I mean, they've been, well, I mean, in fairness, they're very, very able guys. They're very bright guys, and they've been hugely successful in the United States in particular.
Yeah.
And I know some of the families, and very good people.
Yeah, no, they are, and they do great
I'm
things.
absolutely delighted to be associated. delighted. And my association with them is known from one end of the country to the other. If I happen to be outside Limerick in any mission, or if I was away in a by-election, or down to the funeral down the country, or in Kerry, from Kerry to Donegal, people always bring up the Rubberbandts. You know, so it's great.
I think you'll have to join DJ Willie O'Dea on stage someday.
Wouldn't it be fantastic?
I think so too.
Yeah, well, we'd want to make sure that BBC 4 and Channel 4 and BBC 2 and all are there to record the historic event.
Well, if you're going to play a song, what would be your go-to song, do you think?
Say again?
If you're going to play a tune, what would it be? What would you go for?
Oh, it has to be that Rubberbandts one about the horse outside. that was fantastic.
There we go. That could be a theme tune now for your next campaign as well.
It could be.
There you go.
Yeah, it could be.
We're on to something here.
Some people might. Well, I can think of maybe a small minority of people who might be a bit offended by that, but it's a catchy tune. It's very funny.
It actually is. I was on holidays recently. We were all singing it. Now, finally, Willie, I have to ask you, what is your favourite thing about Limerick and why?
My favourite thing about Limerick is, I suppose, being a native. I mean, I wouldn't want to live anyplace else. My favourite thing is the people, obviously. The people. Every different... Ireland is a small island. But, you know, as you know, as a Galway girl yourself, people have their different, you know, different cultures. They have different sort of ways of acting. They have different ways of reacting to each other. I'm used to the Limerick way of doing things, and, you know, I love that. I love the people. And it's a fantastic city, you know, it's a fantastic city. And now, in latter years, a very prosperous city. Great. I mean, I remember a time, you know, when I was first elected to the Dáil about 150 years ago, that I remember being in Dublin, you'd be sort of hesitant to engage in conversation with strangers about Limerick. But now, I mean, I just want to go into a pub or a nightclub. I don't go to a nightclub.
Well, look,
but I want to go to a pub or a club or a rugby match or whatever in Dublin and scream at the top of my voice, I'm from Limerick and it's going great.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Now, finally, do you have a Coppers Gold card?
I don't know. I
No?
really mean, I was never inside Coppers in my
Oh,
life.
okay. Well, if you get a gold card, you might win.
But the lads tell me the story.
Willie O'Dea, thank you so much for chatting to the Limerick Post Show.
Great pleasure.